Now, as we take a closer look at the supply tank, I'm going to identify some of the major knobs, valves, regulators that you will be interacting with on it on a daily basis as you use this machine. So first and foremost, let's start off with the wing nuts. These wing nuts here, as you can see, they are to hold and secure down the top of the supply tank after you've already inserted your material inside. They just need to be hand tightened at opposing ends in order to tamp down the top. And when you're ready to remove your material, you're going to untighten them and let them flip down to the side like so in order to remove the top. Now, if we take a look on the top itself, there's a number of gauges and valves here that you may not be familiar with. So let's go through each one and identify them. Starting out with the largest one here, this is the air pressure regulator valve. What this does is it accepts an incoming air hose into this hole right here from your compressor. What this does then is allow you to dial down the pressure that is coming from your compressor, which will very likely be at between 120 and 150 psi. So this gauge, you will notice, since it comes from China, is actually in metric units, which is kilograms per square centimeter, as opposed to psi. Don't worry about that. You can easily do the conversions via Google. Just do psi to kg/cm in order to figure out what the equivalent place on the dial is for your particular psi, but I recommend starting at 3 kg/cm, which is equivalent to approximately 50 psi. Now, in order to use this dial, all you're going to have to do is, you'll see that there's a black knob that's sticking out the side of this dial. In order to adjust pressure up or down, you're just going to pull that knob out. You'll hear a click. To adjust pressure downward, you're going to turn it clockwise, or to adjust pressure upward, you can turn it counterclockwise. Once you've found the perfect pressure for your particular material, go ahead and push the knob in. It will create another click, locking into place the pressure that you've set. Now, right in front of this, you're going to see a red knob right here, and it'll have a little metal ring attached to it. This is something that you're never really going to have to use, but it's still very important to have, and it is a safety valve. At about 115 psi, or 8 kilograms per square centimeter, this will begin to release pressure from your tank in order to prevent it from becoming overpressurized. Again, this is not something that you're ever going to use, but if it does happen to need to get used, you're going to be very thankful that it's there. Lastly, we have this release valve right here. Now, this release valve is to completely depressurize your tank before you release any material, or before you take the top off and extracting material from it. The way that you're going to do that is by simply moving this release valve into its up position, which will therefore allow air to release from the tank, completely depressurizing it. Now we're going to move on to actually connecting the supply tank to the supply line and running that supply line over to the filling machine so you can begin to start feeding material from the supply tank into your filling machine.